I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?
Good morning and welcome on this Sunday morning to your edition of Bound for Glory on SYN and also streaming online at syn.org.au. My name's Ashley and today I'm joined by
Ethan,
Joe,
Jordan
and Damon.
Big weekend of football. We might start off discussing last night's game, Fremantle and the Swans. Freo getting over quite easily, although the Swans seem to come back.
The result didn't really tell the story of the game in the end.
The margin was not indicative of just Freo's just relentless, disturbing pressure.
I've never seen... I don't think I've seen a better defensive effort this year as what we saw in that first half, keeping Sydney to 2 goals at half-time, and they just didn't look like getting in their forward half, let alone inside 50 or near goal.
I wasn't looking forward to watching this game personally. Both sides are very defensive, and it was like watching a game of chess. Like attending chess club and just watching a strategic game of chess.
Which is just a great activity for the kids on a Sunday if you've got nothing else to do, by the way.
A bit of chess.
Yeah, a bit of chess. Nothing wrong with a bit of chess. I played chess till I was 6. Moving on. I personally think that Ross Lyon deserves to be a premiership coach. I think he probably deserved to be a premiership coach at St Kilda, but he didn't exactly have the most talented... didn't have the list capable of carrying out his game plan. I think now that he's moved to Freo, I think he's got players with enough talent to sustain his style of play and then score going the other way, like Pavlich or Fife or Main. And I think they'll roll Hawthorn horribly next week.
Well, we'll talk about that later. I mean, we'll do the grand final. No, that's okay. We'll do the grand final preview in the last 10 or so minutes. We'll talk about Freo Hawthorn. But I think one thing that we got to note about Ross Lyon is that he's been doing this all year. He hasn't had the full squad at his disposal as well. I mean, people have been talking about Sydney have had injuries. It's really holding them back. Freo are still missing players like John Griffin, Kepler Bradley, Morabito, and there's a lot of players that haven't played for most of the year. Aaron Sandilands, Matthew Pavlich, Luke McFarlane, they spring to mind. And I think everyone's missed games besides, a select 4 and, they're not your Fifes and your Barlows and those sorts of players. So, this is a squad that, hasn't had the continuity so much, and they haven't really, the best 22 hasn't been on the park the whole year until pretty much now. And Freo will start to reap the rewards, and now they're in their first grand final.
Huge credit has to go to Ross Lyon, though. Yeah. Was it a year ago he pulled Michael Walters away for 6 weeks?
Year and a bit. I think it was the start of 2012, and since then he's played 30-odd games in a row. I mean, he missed a few with injury in the middle of the year, and he's kicked 50 goals in that time, and he's one of the best
All-Australian squad,
and now he's one of the best small forwards in the league. It's a fantastic credit to him, and to applying himself.
And how about the game from Ryan Crowley making his latest victim, Kieran Jack, restricting him to 11 disposals and picking up 22 of his own and kicking a goal? Should be commended for that. And missed out on the All-Australian, which is a bit questionable, seeing as though he had another good game last night.
Well, they should, just make a 23rd spot, call it the tagger, just so I can credit Ryan Crowley.
They're never going to put a tagger in the All-Australian team. They're never going to do it.
Oh, they should.
Didn't they put Cameron Ling in the team?
But Cameron Ling was a good footballer going the other way and doing other stuff other than tagging. Ryan Crowley's just a good tagger. Sure, he had 22 last night and kicked a goal, but that was because Freo was that dominant that he was able to get going the other way. Ling was just good at it.
But you got to think he beat nearly all the midfielders in the All-Australian. Surely that deserves a spot.
But it won't. I agree with you that it should, but it won't. They won't put a tagger in. It just won't happen. It is harsh, but it's they like putting a glut of midfielders in and then putting one on the half-forward flank or in the forward pocket or something like that. All you have to do is think of the time when they put Dean Cox in a forward pocket. It will go down in the annals of history. Dean Cox was the All-Australian forward pocket. How ridiculous is that?
Let's not talk about
At the expense of, say, the best tagger from that year, because they wanted to have Dean Cox on the side.
We could do a whole show on that, couldn't we?
We could do. could argue it for an entire
Fast goal
hour.
Australian selections.
How good was Nat Fyfe last night? And surely he has to be the Brownlow favourite for next year.
It's a shame he's ineligible this year. I mean, it's hard to believe he's 22. I mean, he turned 22 3 days ago. And the way he runs, the way wins contested ball for someone who's got a slight frame and still takes contested marks. You could plonk him at centre half forward and he'd still be a very quality footballer. I mean, they probably could do that when Matthew Pavlich retires, and
And Ben, who's over in the corner reading the paper, made the very good point last night that Pavlich is still only 31, and that's pretty young in football terms. He could have another 3 years in him, which is a genuinely scary proposition, because he can play anywhere on the ground.
Well, I think the one sign that he is getting on is his Achilles injury early in the year. I mean, he took, 3 months to get back from that, and it wasn't, significantly bad. I mean, it wasn't a tear or anything, so... I mean, he's getting on, but, if he plays games like he did yesterday, I mean, he completely disowned Ted Richards, who, was All-Australian defender last year. I mean, that was a quality selection as well, so... he's in fantastic form, and hopefully he does lead Freo to their first flag.
Now, if my memory serves me correct, Andrew Demetriou I think it was early this season or last season, said that Freo's game plan was really boring to watch, and that it isn't interesting. Do you still think that Freo's game plan's boring, and do you think it's going to be a boring grand final?
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
No grand final is boring.
I think he was probably right at the time in saying it was boring, but that style of football is built to win finals, and that's what we saw last night. We saw a style of football that is perfectly suited to a preliminary final against a hard, tough, contested footy outfit, and they put Sydney in the ground, and it was awful to watch, but also at the same time it was completely enthralling. It's not boring when it happens like that. It's why we go to the football. That's why we go to the football, to watch stuff like that. And I think Demetriou, if he was to say that now, would be battered from pillar to post, because you don't say that about Freo now.
Freo, I think they kicked 9 points in their first quarter.
It's 2-9 in the first quarter.
They kicked 2-11 at one point in the second as well. They kicked 9 straight from there, I think.
And most of those were set shots as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
Even Chris Payne was missing. I mean, I think it was raining early in the day over in Perth, just constantly, and it dried up before the game. But you could tell that
it was windy as well, from memory.
Yeah, it was a little bit windy, and there were pretty simple skills that weren't being executed properly. I mean, there were lots of kicks that would just come off the side of the boot and go straight to the opposition from both teams. So it was pretty poor conditions in the first quarter, but I think the players got a bit accustomed to it, and I think it dried up a bit as well. So
what do you take away from this for Sydney? I mean, they've had a good year. Ultimately, they've probably fallen short of where they would have expected to be, which is contending for a back-to-back grand final. But I mean, when you run into that just pressured juggernaut that is Freo, I mean, yes, they'll be disappointed, but could they have expected it? What can they improve on? I mean, what went wrong for them last night?
I think the good sign is that they've got players to come back. They've got a very extensive injury list. I mean, they went into the game without Tibbett and Mitchell and Goods. And I think they're missing half their grand final team from last year, and relying on players like Dane Rampier to come in, who he's been
good though this year.
He's been a very good defender this year, and I mean that's one of the positives. I mean, they've got these players that are coming in and actually playing well. Harry Cunningham was okay last night.
Gary Rowan was good.
Well, who's the other one? Shane Biggs was pretty good.
Yeah.
They got these players that are doing okay. They're 22 to 30 players that won't get regular games when the squad's fully fit, and
but it's true that your bottom six is what wins your games, and I think Freo, you would have the hardest time in the league picking Freo's bottom six over any other club, because they are so balanced and they work so well as a club, and their bottom six is probably better than every other club's bottom six.
It is. I think one of the significant points we took from pre-game last night was that Lachie Neale was the sub.
If Lachie Neale's your sub, you're going all right.
And he's averaged 24 disposals over the past 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And if Freo can make a player like that their sub, they're going okay.
But even then, other names like I think it's Cameron Sutcliffe and De Boer, and who's the other one? There's one.
Lee Spur.
Yeah, Lee Spur. That's the one. Like names like that probably would be in the bottom six at any other club, and they're in the bottom six at Freo, but that's the best bottom six in the comp by a fair margin as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you're struggling to fit players in the bottom six just because they're all so talented, I mean, it's much better players than what Ross Lyon had at St Kilda, and he took them to 3 grand finals. So, I mean, you can only expect that Freo can go further.
That's scary.
It's scary.
It is scary. It's because once those players develop, and then Freo have still got players like Josh Simpson, who I think was their first round draft pick last year.
He was pick 7.
Viv Mitchie, who I think's had problems with his foot, who can come in and make an impact and stuff like that. I think I don't want to say it because they've still got to see where Pavlich is at and whether or not Sandilands is going to go around again, but they could be contending for a very long time.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I think we'll move on to the other game, which was Clash of the Titans, Hawthorn Geelong on Friday night, and finally breaking the long streak that Geelong had.
Kennett curse.
The Kennett curse. I don't like calling it that, but we'll call it that anyway.
Why do you like calling it that?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't think it was. I don't think it was so related to Jeff Kennett as much as Geelong just bringing their best to Hawthorn.
The Herald Sun likes referring to Jeff Kennett as much as possible, does.
That's fair enough. But credit to Hawthorn. I mean, they were down by 20 points at one point in the third quarter, and they rallied from there. I think, in earlier games, Hawthorn versus Geelong, I think Hawthorn at that point would have crumbled. And I mean, they did it early in the year. I think it was round 15 or so, where they were losing to Geelong by about the same margin. Then they tried to come back, and they ultimately failed. And they went one better, and they played fantastically on Friday night, and they showed why they finished top of the ladder.
I don't know. They were a lot better in the clinches, in the sort of. I think you're right in saying that in previous years or previous games, Hawthorn would have given up, and not given up, but faded. But this time, I think with the ultimate premiership, not the premiership, a shot at the grand final on the line, I think they really stepped up. I feel sorry for anyone more than anyone else for Brendan Whitecross.
Oh yeah,
because another ACL in a preliminary final is going to miss his second grand final in 2 years, and that has to be
that's
gutting.
Heartbreaking.
Has to be gutting.
It's so unlucky.
It is. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen to a footballer, in a football sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially because he's done them twice in finals. I mean, if he did it in, round 5 or something, I mean, you would have just said it was bad luck. But
the positive for the Hawks is that they've got people tearing it up in the reserves. Shane Savage destroyed Werribee in the preliminary final. He can come in and kick 2-3 goals playing out of a full pocket. And Hawthorn have got the depth, and I think we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Franklin, whether or not his elbow is going to be fine.
Oh, it should be.
Should be.
I'm sure it will be.
But then at the same time, you have to, like we'll talk about it in the grand final preview, but you have to wonder how Freo's pressure is going to go, restricting Hawthorn's midfielders being able to deliver the ball to Franklin and Roughhead.
I reckon Roughhead's the one to worry about, not Buddy.
He's a better footballer than Franklin.
Yeah, definitely.
Considerably better footballer.
And I think if Buddy's sort of like a decoy, they can just kick it to Roughhead and then...
The most expensive decoy in the history of the game. My God. Roughhead's a better footballer than Franklin. Easily a better footballer.
Well, he's won a Coleman medal this year. I mean, I think the way he's thrown himself into the midfield and the ruck over the past couple of years, to win clearances, he's got that mobility.
He's more versatile than Franklin. He takes better contested marks than he takes contested marks for a start.
Yeah, Franklin doesn't take contested marks.
He kicks straighter. Franklin is brilliant when he's on, and he's very erratic when he's off. But Roughhead is very consistent. He's very versatile, and he's an all-round better footballer. And I think if the Greater Western Sydney were going to go after one player out of the league, one player out of Hawthorn, they would go for Jared Roughhead over.
And even in saying that, Franklin and Roughhead combined for 1 goal on Friday night.
Yeah. So when it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong. So it's like a little girl with a little curl.
And just back on the game and some of the more key players, Stevie J played another awesome game, providing a bit of X factor.
I was surprised you didn't talk about Sam Mitchell first.
Oh yeah, Sammy Mitchell. I'll get to him. He's emblazoned across pretty much a full page in the Herald Sun here. But Stevie J, he was probably their best player on the night. 32 posies and kicked 4 goals. One was back to his best.
Jeez, he loves the big moments, doesn't he?
He's a big stage player.
And Sammy Mitchell, of course, just reading there, he's actually broken. He's equalled the record for most clearances in a final.
He had 11, didn't he?
He had 9 with Dane Swan back in 2011. He levels with.
That's a fair.
Ben Cunnington will smash that the first final he plays. 20.
If you get there first.
Yeah, you'll get there. I didn't see it because I was out and we were watching it on 2 very small phones in the corner. How close did Varco come to kicking that goal in the last?
Should have kicked it.
Should have kicked it? How close was it?
30, 35?
It was pretty
Directly in
close.
front.
I mean, even at the death, Geelong still find a way to come within inches of making a grand final. And I think that's, like, is that it now for them? Is that it for Geelong? Is the dynasty over?
We thought they were done and dusted this season.
I think we've said that every year for the last 5 years.
I think they're never dead.
I
They're always around.
I think we're waiting for it to end, but it doesn't look like it's going to for
I
a
don't
while.
want it to end. I enjoy a league where Geelong is the superpower.
Yeah, they're a very fun team to watch.
Yeah.
The way they all apply themselves, and the way they all just enjoy playing footy. I mean, I think when you look at all the best teams in the league, I think Geelong have the best pure footballers in the league. They got.
Speaking of pure footballers, Stephen Motlop.
Yeah,
How good?
Someone like Stephen
How
Motlop.
good is Stephen Motlop?
He's an absolute.
Is he the
freak.
best Motlop ever?
Easily.
Yeah.
Hang
on.
Well,
Hang on.
When I think when we look back and judge them at the end of their careers, he will be the best Motlop.
Shannon Motlop was pretty good.
Premiership player.
All right, let's not
feeling
just discard the achievements of Shannon Motlop. For real though, I think currently Daniel probably is the best Motlop of all time.
Well, because Daniel's had an extended career. I mean,
and if you let Stephen have a full career with Geelong, and he just keeps going the way he is, he's going to end up wiping Daniel out, and he'll be the best Motlop ever, which is a huge achievement because there's a massive talent pool to pick from.
Were we all surprised Taylor Hunt didn't get a game?
No, he's been in shocking form.
But
Terrible.
someone should have tagged Mitchell, don't you reckon?
No.
Can't really tag Mitchell, I don't think.
Can't you?
He's going to get it anyway.
Yeah, I think Mitchell is one of those players that, even when you're throwing, 3 or 4 players around the ball just to try and knock him off, he's got that focus and he's got that ability to be...
He's like Watson in that respect, I think, where you just can't really tag him because he loves being in and under, and he loves it when there's players around.
He's kind of half Watson, half Pendlebury, and that he has that innate ability to keep finding the footy, but there's also moments where he's just so composed and untackleable. Like on Friday night, there were so many clearances that he won where he'd just stand out the back of the pack, and he'd have 2 or 3 seconds to judge where he wanted to kick it, and a Geelong player couldn't do anything.
But to your original point, I don't think Taylor Hunt should have had a game. I think he's been in pretty average form. I think they probably wanted him in there if someone like Mitchell or another one of Hawthorn's midfielders got off the chain, to have him there as a sub, as an option to bring on and quell that influence. But I don't think he deserved to start. I think Geelong picked the right team, and they just weren't good enough on the night. Or they almost were. They just weren't good enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, players like, I suppose, Jordan Murdoch, who came in, Hall Smith, Caddy, I think they're all well ahead of Taylor Hunt at the moment, unfortunately.
At the moment, he's a good footballer though, Taylor Hunt.
Yeah.
And he's probably the best tagger they've had the only tagger they've had since Ling. He's got big shoes to fill, but he's a good footballer. He'll be all right.
Yeah,
He'll have a big pre-season back next year.
What do you think of Tommy Hawkins' game?
Useless. Fat and useless.
Well, he kicked 1 goal, 1 on Friday night. I mean, he's been doing it injured for pretty much the entire season. He's still...
Sorry.
And
Fat, useless and injured.
Fat, useless and injured.
Sorry, Tommy.
Rub it in. And he still kicked 40 goals for the year or thereabouts. So, I mean, it's been an okay season, and, combining with Podsiali, I mean, they're still 2 very hard forwards to match up on. Once he gets fully fit next year, and he's still young as well. I mean, once he gets fully fit next year, I mean, we'll see the Tom Hawkins of 2012.
Do Geelong need to go out and get a power forward?
No.
No, they've got 2 good ones.
Well, isn't J-Pod going to retire, you'd think?
Yeah, and Shane Kernston comes in.
Okay.
I mean, he almost came in for the prelim. I think, it was being talked up early in the week that...
Imagine that. Imagine throwing someone in the prelim as a debut.
The Dogs tried it in the semi.
No, didn't they put Andrew Hooper in?
Andrew Hooper, on his debut in a semi-final, he was quite useless.
He was all right. He did some okay things. But I
delisted
think...
2 years later.
I don't think they need to go out and get a key forward. I think whoever said Kirsten, was it you?
Yeah.
Whoever said Kirsten's... Heath said Kirsten, is correct. I think he's a big body for a young guy already. And if Podsiadly retires or Hawkins gets injured, or a combination of the 2, I think Kirsten's perfectly primed to step in
and they got Josh Walker as well too.
And they're still going to get superb delivery from the midfielder. That's the main thing you want as a forward. So Kirsten could be a 6 out of 10 player, but that delivery at the midfield is going to make him an 8 to 9, 10 player. It's going to make him a better footballer.
Reminds me of Mark Williams in 2008. I mean, Kirsten is a better player than that as well.
Exactly.
Well, should be at least.
Excellent point. Salient.
And just in terms of comparing players, someone's texted in, Roughhead's actually taken only one more contested mark this year than Buddy, 27 compared to 26.
That really
surprises me.
Surprise
It does.
Yeah.
Who was that? Good text.
That's an anonymous person through
thank you,
the SYN website. But if you want to join in the discussion, feel free to SMS in on 0427 767 767.
Hey, you too can stump us with wonderful statistics like that. That's really surprising.
Yeah,
Genuinely
I'm shocked to hear that as well. I mean, Roughhead's the player that relies on them more, but I think we should go to some SYN messages. Keep texting us in on 0427 767 767 or online at syn.org.au. We'll be back after this.
Are you a fan of Monday Night Raw? Perhaps you like to watch them fight on Friday nights. Or maybe you're just interested in what's going on at NXT. Well, no matter what, if you're a WWE fan at heart, you're going to want to catch the SmackDown Hotel every Saturday from 9 p.m. only on SYN.
If you went up for Get Cereal this week, this is what you missed.
My friend wanted to get lunch and he was like, I just feel like something real disgusting like KFC. And it was like, kid me would have been like, yes, KFC lunch, that's the greatest ever, yeah.
Gonna get a bucket of cheese.
Yeah, but I was just like, I guess, yeah. And I got like the healthiest thing.
What is the healthiest thing?
Twister.
Okay, but it's got lettuce in it.
Yeah, and tomato.
Yeah.
And they put too much sauce in it anyway.
Did you write an angry letter? You are getting old. This is shocking.
Get excited.
Get happy.
Get cereal.
6 to 9 a.m. weekdays only on SYN.
Objection, 5 to 6 p.m. weekdays and 8 to 10 a.m. weekends.
Hi, I'm Kieran, blankety blank.
Objection on SYN.
Oh, love, I heard the best show on the radio the other day.
Oh, really, Dales? What was it called?
In Joke.
Yeah,
on SYN.
Oh, what time was it on, Dales?
5 p.m. to 6 p.m, if I recall correctly.
Oh, sounds good, Dales.
Oh, love it. No, it was fantastic. They had all these interviews and segments, and, they had this one little bit at the start with a bit of a dithery old couple.
Oh, really, Dales? We should give it a listen.
No, we should, love. I reckon it'll be a hoot.
All right, Dales. Want a cup of tea?
No, yet. I would love one, actually.
A disclaimer. SYN is not responsible for any groaning, moaning, or throwing of radio sets across the room as a result of unintentional puns on its orchestral show, The Baton.
And all sorts of extra little goodies, so it definitely helps if you keep up to date with The Baton. It's time for our next song, Up to Date. Oh my God! Did I just make a pun and not realise it?
The Baton, Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. Listen at your own risk.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Guess what? You're listening to SYN.
With a 24-hour news cycle, politics can at times be a little hard to keep up with.
Prime Minister Kevin Rudd will today detail billions of dollars in savings.
When Ed Husic was sworn in as Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister and for broadband on Monday.
As you would probably be aware by now, Kevin Rudd has been
Party members
elected
believe
as
that
leader
Kevin Rudd might be able to secure a win. Throughout
you.
Season 3, Brodie Carmody and myself, Matilda Morazzi, will be here with future politicians, bringing you all the political developments and policies which are going to be important to your future. Tune in every Saturday afternoon from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Future Politicians, tomorrow's politicians today on SYN.
Reviews. We're back on Bound for Glory on SYN. Text us in on 0427 767 767 or online at syn.org.au. We'll look at the team reviews now. We've been doing those throughout the finals. We'll get the teams who crashed out in the semi-finals last week and the prelims this week. So first we'll start off with Port Adelaide, who rose from the depths. A fantastic season from them to finish, what was it, 5th in the end? So
it would have been, yeah.
Yeah, so a fantastic season from them. I mean, there were people writing them off, people saying they weren't sustainable as a club, and David Koshy comes in and...
As much as I hate the man, and it's been well documented on this show previously, as much as I hate the man, he has done absolute wonders for that football club in a business sense.
As has Ken Hinkley in a football sense.
In a football sense.
Yeah.
And in a player sense, I would love to single out Chad Wingard for special consideration.
He won the best and fairest.
He won the best and fairest last night. He's in the All-Australian team, starting on the ground. and he's just a wonderful footballing talent, and I would love to say I love you, Chad Wingard, and thank you for making Port fun to watch, because they weren't fun to watch, and now they are. Ollie Wines as well is also a gun.
Yeah, for a team that finishes top 6 to have a second-year player win the best and fairest,
it's a pretty good effort.
It's a pretty good effort.
Players like Boak and Wines running around, and the other one.
And Boak finished second as well, so they got a fantastic young squad there. I mean,
they've got a big future.
Yeah, they got a very big future. I mean, I think they're still the 5th youngest team. There was some stat about that's running around at the moment. I mean, they're still down there with teams like Gold Coast and Melbourne in terms of youth. So,
I mean, if you go back to our pre-season predictions, which we do every year, I think if we looked at them and compiled them, the majority of us had Port in the bottom 6. I'm pretty certain about 99% of us had Port in the bottom 6, and everyone else in the wider football world probably also had Port in their bottom 6. And to have the turnaround that they have and end up in a semi-final, losing by not much, is a pretty damn good effort. It's not to be understated. It is one of the football stories of the year.
The scary thing to think, though, is if this is what they can do in just 1 year, from how they were last year to how they are now, what are they going to be able to do in 2-3 years? Like, they're probably going to be right up there.
It was like we were saying, like, Wingard is that young and Wines is that young, and they're two of their best players. Boak is still a young footballer in terms of footballing. They're about as scary as Freo are. If they keep going the way they are with Ken Hinkley, and Hinkley keeps improving with his natural improvement as well as a coach with experience, they're going to be able to repeat what they did this year and go even further. It's terrifying. What is with all these interstate clubs being very good now? Used to them being terrible.
No focus on them in Victoria.
Yeah, as we're constantly reminded by interstate fans. No one cares about our clubs. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you live in a footballing town.
I think that's what happens during the years of 2001 to 2006 when it was all interstate teams.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing Port already again next year. One player I think that probably needs to start making an impact in terms of just his career is John Butcher.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
It was pick 8, I think, in which draft was it? 2009. When
2009, it was. Yeah, it was rumoured. He'd go to Melbourne with it would be like Scully and Butcher or something. First 2 picks.
Yeah, but he's I think he signed a new contract either last year or the year before. Said he was very happy to be in Port, but I think 2009 he is a tall forward. But you've got players out of that draft that are starting to really step up. Gary Rowan was huge in a preliminary final last night. Ben Cunnington is one of the top clearance players in the league. Tom Liberatore is the top clearance player in the league from that draft. John Butcher needs to step up. I think his time is now. His next season needs to be the one where he starts to break out.
Yeah, and it's a very talented draft, that one. I mean, there's players like Lewis Jenner as well. Aaron Black is,
Let's talk about Aaron Black for a second. No, we're not going to talk about Aaron Black for a second because it's the wrong place, but I love you, Blackie.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, didn't Port also have pick 9 in that draft was Andrew Moore, who hasn't really come on?
Yeah, he's another one, and I think Jasper Pittard was pick 16. So, I mean, 3 picks from that draft in the top 16, none of them have really established themselves, and yet they've still got all this talented youth. Plus them, who still haven't really emerged and, can establish themselves in the best 22 yet. So, bright future.
I want to gauge the panel's opinion on, I think, probably one of their more important players, and one who has gone under the radar a little bit. It's their ruckman, Matthew Lobe.
Oh, he's been superb.
Had a massive second half of the season, and no one talked about him. No one talked about him.
I think I brought him up a couple of weeks ago, but besides,
all right then, hipster over there.
Well, one person talked about
him. Well, at least one. But I think in terms of wider football media, no one really spoke about him, and he tore it up. I think he had some of the best stats for a ruckman I've ever seen. I mentioned it on the show once. I'm a hipster too.
In the second half of the year, I think he was one of the best ruckmen in the league.
Yeah.
Behind Minson and Goldstein, who were by far away the best two. So,
and he's again another young player who has mountains of natural improvement left in him. God, Port is scary. Damn it.
And he was one of their players that they had these 3 ruckmen. They had Matthew Lobe, they had Jared Redden, and Brent Renoff.
Well, they don't need Renoff and Redden
now. No, they don't need them now. And they play 2 of them at a time. They try Lobe and Redden. I think that was the main combo they tried, and they try Renoff and Lobe and Renoff and Redden, and every time it just didn't work. And now Lobe's established himself. He's broken way ahead of the other 2, and
Loath though I am to compare, stuff to American football, it reminds me of what they did was with the three ruckmen. It reminds me very much of what teams do with quarterbacks, where they pit them against each other in pre-season to see which one's going to be the best one. And I think Loby's done what I'm going to cop it for this. Loby's done what Tom Brady did at the Patriots, and he's beaten out other more experienced and previously better quarterbacks or ruckmen to be the best. And I shouldn't have compared Matthew Loby to Tom Brady, but he's won that competition, and I think he's better for it. I think he's realised that he can pull his finger out and be a very, very good player. And again, it's another one of the players out of Port that I'm really excited to see how they sustain this season's form into next year.
Yeah, I think he's one of very many. It's a very, very talented squad. I think we'll move on to Carlton, who, I think they probably exceeded expectations, especially around mid-year. Mick Malthouse said he wanted supporters. I think Mick Malthouse expected top 8, and they made top 6.
But did the supporters expect top 4?
Well, the supporters are
irrelevant.
Over expecting.
Pushing for top 4, I think.
Can't think of the word.
Depends when you asked us. The start of the season, probably say want top 4. Mick was meant to be this saviour that was meant to send us up there. Pretty much. Second half of the season, though, we were just like, oh god. Yeah. Oh god. Hope we just make finals, and then.
And let's be honest, you fell into the finals.
We didn't.
Crawled over the line.
We were not meant to be in finals.
And still beat Richmond.
Sorry, Matt Joyce, if you're listening.
But when you look at the team list, though, we didn't make any major changes in the off-season. Mick Malthouse was still trying to get used to the list. I guess, not playing Daigen and Latham and the rest of them, but with the existing list, it was kind of strange. He didn't know any of the players. He might have had a fair idea when he was coach at Collingwood, but I think it was pretty obvious that we needed a key forward, as well as a key backman as well.
Because listed one.
Oh, we did, Luke Mitchell.
I don't know why.
I played football against Luke Mitchell in juniors, and has he got paper shoulders?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I think he had 2 shoulder recos.
Yeah, which sucks. But sorry, please continue.
Yeah, but the lack of forward options up there meant that, as we saw, Lockie Henderson had to be pushed forward, and
was a revelation. To be fair.
Yep. But it does show that if we're going to keep him forward, we do need someone to fill his spot in the defence.
The one thing that I sort of was concerned, and I'm still concerned about it, was that Nick Daigen wasn't in the squad for most of the season. Somehow managed to get towards the end of the season scraped into the final because someone withdrew or something, and then
Brock McLean wasn't it?
Brock McLean withdrew. He managed to get in, had a fantastic
Probably
game.
One of the only reasons he won that game.
Well, the thing is, he hasn't been around the whole season. You mix delisted players like Laidlaw, who I think is better than Daigen in my opinion.
Well, Laidlaw's walking out, I think.
Yeah, he's requested to be traded to another club.
Well, that's fair enough. He's not getting a game, but. Yeah. I think there's just too much hype around Daigen because of that one game and 2 games. I think it's easy. We shouldn't have even been in finals. So had we not played that game, would Daigen still be on the team?
Well, it's one
Captain potential, Nick Daigen.
It's one of the questions you have to ask though. Would he have been in the delisted side if Brock McLean didn't withdraw from the?
That's exactly right. It's a bit of hype.
Would Daigen still be on the list if Matthew Broadbent hadn't hit the post? These are the questions we have to ask. But I think in saying that, it speaks volumes about Daigen as a footballer that he was able to take his opportunity in the elimination final, and I think it's deserving of congratulations that he's actually still on the list.
I think so too.
He's a good footballer. I don't think he's better than Laidlaw. I think Laidlaw's terrible.
I think Laidlaw's better.
Yeah, I think he's much better. We saw in the first season when Laidlaw came over from Geelong, and I think it was his first or maybe second season. I think he was injured in the first season with us for most of the season. But excuse me, he was. I think he was a revelation coming over.
So with Carlton, where do you guys think they'll look in the draft? Because, like you said, Damon, they probably need a key forward, but Lockie Henderson's filled that void. They probably need a key backman because Lockie Henderson can't fill that void and the other one at the same time. Do you think they'll look for another midfielder because Judd's getting old, or a key defender because they haven't got Henderson, or a key forward because they want to send Henderson back to the back line?
I think they need a defender, especially with weight on his last legs, and God knows when he can go down. So I think definitely need a key defender. I
don't think any of the resident draft experts are here at the moment, but I think they're going to have about pick 13 or so.
Around that.
Around that, and I think if they can get someone like Christian Salem, who's one of those line-breaking midfielders, I think if they can snare him with pick 13, Carlton will just laugh. they'll be absolutely wrapped with that.
Go, Hesse.
Will Daisy Thomas be at Carlton next year?
All says yes, but I don't know.
All signs point to yes.
Yeah, I'd say so as well.
Does that mean they draft another midfielder as well?
Yeah, I'd still draft another midfielder.
I reckon if they got Thomas, I reckon they would have to go tall. But this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this year's draft is particularly thick for talls.
No, it's Tom Boyd and then a bit of a drop. I mean,
Scharenberg is probably another one.
Scharenberg's
no
a
chance of
utility.
getting Scharenberg.
Yeah, but he's going to be top 5.
And Scharenberg's top 3, top 4. So, I mean, there's players like Josh Scott, who was I think leading the goal kick in the TAC Cup this year. I mean, he's probably going to be a late-ish pick, or probably mid-range, second round, third round. I don't really know where he's going, to be honest. But I mean, if they can pick someone up like that, with their second pick or wherever he happens to go, or there's still key forwards there, and I mean they can still develop them. I mean, and they've still got players like if Caswell can sort out his goal kicking, if Henderson stays forward and he ends up kicking 2 goals a game, they've still got players there. And if they can draft another, that'd be great. But I think they need midfield first.
Speaking about the forward line, what do you do with Betts, Garlett, Yaron?
Well, Betts is gone.
Yaron
is on his last legs, and Garlett's probably the only genuine small forward they'll have on the list next year.
I think Garlett's crawled over the line.
Yeah, it's by virtue
for a spot in Carlton's 2014 squad.
Evils.
Do you trade Yaron or?
Wiley has currency.
Depends exactly. Depends on what you can get for him.
Who wants him?
Well, if Martin can get offers and he has worse behavioural issues than Yaron.
Yeah, but Martin's a quality footballer. He's probably going to finish
far and away a better footballer.
He's going to finish top 20 in the Brownlow this year. He averages 23, 24 disposals a game and kicks a goal a game.
Well, I didn't think that far ahead.
No, I didn't think so.
But just in terms of filling the need for a key defender and a key forward, are there any? I think there's key forwards out there like Jesse White from Sydney. I think might be an option. He's coming out of contract. I think he might be an option. But are there any genuine key defenders out there that Carlton can sort of target?
Yeah, Luke Delaney, but he's going to the Saints. Josh Bruce also wants to go to the Saints. Saints have got a monopoly on defenders in the trade period.
Yeah, because they have none at the moment.
Yeah,
they should have made a massive play for Brian Lake, I think, if anything, because now they've missed the mark and there's no other key defenders out there to go
Brian
for.
Lake wanted a premiership though.
Yeah,
it's
tough because there's nothing there in the trade period that realistically you're going to have a shot at because St Kilda have a monopoly on it, and there's not much in the draft in terms of key defenders. So it's tough for Carlton because they swing Henderson back and then say we're going to have to rely on Waite and very shaky Levi Casbolt to kick the goals, and then you're going to lose Eddie Betts, who's good for 2 goals a game. Where are the goals going to come from? Your ageing midfield. Chris Judd doesn't have burst speed anymore. He can't kick goals running out of the middle.
He never could kick goals, let's be honest.
Well, fair enough. Murphy doesn't kick that many goals. Mitch Robinson
Gibbs doesn't
kick it anywhere.
Kicks them out of bounds.
He does. I think next year it's going to be, if they don't get a key defender, I think it's going to be tough for Carlton to kick goals because they're going to have to rejig their entire side.
Yeah, that's a fair enough observation. Next up, we'll go to... Who is it? We'll go to Geelong.
Yes.
Crashed out in the prelim, but still a very, very good year.
Well, I mean, it's what, the 8th year of the dynasty now? When did it start? 2007 was the first year.
I'd go back to almost 2004, but they had that one...
They finished 10th in 2006.
Yeah, and they
How was that good?
And they made finals in 04 and 05, so that was, the...
But... everyone speaks about the start of the dynasty being the leading team's stuff at 2007. They went 2-3 in round 5. They lost to North Melbourne at Cardinia Park. The next week they went out and beat the Tigers by 400 billion points, and they didn't lose again for the rest of the season until they lost to Port
by a point,
whatever, and then they won the grand final by 170 billion points. That is the start of the dynasty as far as I'm concerned. That was 2007, and now it's 2013, and they've just missed out on a prelim. Can they do it again next year? That's 6 years of incredibly top-line football. I mean, how far can it go?
Oh, it can go for a while yet. I mean, their side's still young. Players like Selwood's at the top of his game, and, all their players are young as well. I mean, you look at all the old players that are actually running around for them. I mean, there's James Kelly, Joel Corey, Corey Enright, who is still, he's made 5th All-Australian side in a row.
I think, though, they'll probably retire at the end of this year.
Corey Enright will.
Corey, Kelly, and Enright.
Oh, not all of them will, because I think Paul Chapman's gone, so that's
Oh, yeah,
one.
sorry, not Enright, Chapman. My bad.
What about Josh Hunt?
Josh Hunt, I think he's
real
almost
good when
gone.
he's kicking at 60 metres to no one, but besides that, he would be one of the weakest links in that team, and that's...
if he's even in the team.
And that's an endorsement on Geelong's depth and the talent of their young players.
Yeah, I think Cam Guthrie has well overtaken him.
Yep. He inherited the Son of God's 29, didn't he?
He did.
And he's doing it very proud.
He is at the moment.
I think we talked about Motlop earlier as well. Another player that has immeasurable amounts of talent for the future. Blitzavs has been a revelation in the ruck. He's a steeplechase runner, so he's probably got the best endurance for a ruckman in the league.
And they've still got Dawson Simpson and Hamish McIntosh to come back next year as well.
Yeah.
And Vardy was good.
Yeah, he was. As a forward option as well, if Tomahawk's not being very good or Podsiadly's being old.
And Trent West has good depth in the ruck as well. So you got 5 ruckmen, more or less, who can play AFL. It's quite ridiculous.
Where do they have weaknesses?
No, I don't think so.
In any position, do they have weaknesses? Key defenders?
I think they could do with, 1 or 2 more real good clearance players.
Yeah.
I think, as we mentioned earlier, Kelly and Corey aren't the players they once were. I mean, Kelly's still running around; he's still okay, but
they're coming to the end.
They're coming to the end, and that's the thing. I mean, once they start relying on Selwood more and more, it starts getting worse. I mean, they've got to really establish players like Josh Caddy is one, Holland Smith is one. And that's the thing. They've got to get a lot of young players who can fill the void. So I think next year's about making that another transition. I mean, they've been doing that for the last 7 years or so. So,
and we keep saying this is definitely going to be the year. This is going to be the year when Geelong finally crumble, they fall apart, and they're no longer the team they were. And we say it every year. I think a lot of people are going to say it again this year. They're going to see the breaking of the Kenner curse and a loss to Hawthorn in a prelim, and they're going to go, that's it. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I don't think that's true. I think they're going to go around again. I think they'll be well up there next year for the finals. I think they'll be top 6. Gradual decline, yes, fine, but I think everyone that is going to call them over this year, I think is going to be wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think we'll quickly move on to Sydney, who, despite all their injuries and all, every roadblock that was in their way, they still finished top 4. And I think, it's still been a very successful season despite not making that grand final.
How do you all think Tippett fitted into the side? Did he...
Very well.
We saw a team without Tippett and a team with Tippett. Which team do you think did better?
The team with Tippett, quite comfortably. I think when you go to forward who's kicking 3 goals a game, you're automatically a much better side.
It just gives them a big target to kick to. I mean, when he's not there, who was playing at full forward? Sam Reid. Jesse White.
What has happened to Sam Reid?
He's tore his quad against Melbourne in round 14 or so, and he never really regained fitness.
But again, a good player for the future and whatever. But
well, he got on the cover of AFL Live, so he must be a good player.
That's true. The 5-year deal, I think.
Of all the established footballers in the league, and you chose Sam Reid to go on the cover. I mean, great player, but I mean, Ableth kind of maybe just sort of. I think they're better with Tippett in there because it gives them a big established target to kick to.
And it relieves players like White and Reid and Goods who now get the second and third best defenders in the side.
Because Jesse White can't go for a whole game as your number 1 key forward. Sam Reid can't go for a whole game as your number 1 key forward. And Adam Goods is really old. He's really good, but he's really old. So having Tippett there just gives them a little bit more structure. It makes them a better side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we've still seen Sydney's midfielders, all conquering. I think Josh Kennedy still had a good year. Kieran Jack is All-Australian. Dan Hanbury's All-Australian. Jared McVeigh's All-Australian. And
Luke Parker had a good year as well.
Luke Parker's had a very good year. And,
they got a 40 in the draft.
We got a plethora of quality midfielders over in Sydney. And the good thing is, as well, that most of them are young. Jared McVeigh's the oldest one of them, and he's 28. So, they've still got a few years left. I don't think I see Sydney dropping any time soon.
And we talked about their younger players, like their younger players as well. Like Gary Rowan's still young, and then the players like Dane Rampy and Shane Biggs, Harry Cunningham that came in and, were able to play. Nick Smith even, probably the most underrated small defender in the competition, in the style of Stephen Morris or players like that. Those guys are the youngest players on Sydney's list, and they're making a very good team's best 22, and they're having an impact when they play. I think that is the main thing we need to judge Sydney on is, again, their bottom six, and their bottom six is very good. And that's a common theme in the top four's bottom six players. They're all very good players that would get games at every other club in the league. And that's good signs for Sydney's future.
Yeah, there's quality drafting over there.
I think on that note, we might go to some sim messages, and we'll be back talking the Brownlow.
A side quest is an optional section of a video game and is commonly found in role-playing games.
It is a smaller mission within a larger storyline and can be used as a means to provide non-linear structures to an otherwise linear plot.
As a general rule, the completion of side quests are not essential for the game to be finished, but can bring various benefits to the player characters.
Also non-essential but highly awesome is side quests and Sin.
So tune in Fridays at 11 PM to hear Side Quest, Sin's home of indie and retro gaming.
The Smackdown Hotel.
And Kobe made him pay. It's Seguri to the back of the head.
The show where we bring you news, reviews, results, and the occasional rant about everything to do with the WWE.
Big hit by this cranky man.
For all things wrestling, tune in at 9 PM every Saturday with me, Troy McVeigh, for the Smackdown Hotel.
Sin's Australian feature album of the week, Bad Dreams, Badland.
Rad band out of Adelaide released their debut EP, Badlands. Drawing influence from loneliness, boredom, madness and freedom, Badlands is 6 tracks of pop songs with dark driving guitars and a high rock energy.
Listen to the Australian feature album, Bad Dreams, Badlands, all this week on Sin.
You're on Bound for Glory on Sin. Remember to text us in on 0427 767 767 or online at sin.org.au. We're going to take a look at the Brownlow medal now,
Getting
which
a
is
bit rowdy in the break. Sorry.
Yeah, we always are. Take a look at the Brownlow now, which is on tomorrow night, and really, there's only 2 players that can win it.
No.
Damon? 3? 3?
Realistically, every player in the league has a shot at winning the medal, Ethan. All right, so how about you be a little bit more inclusive next time?
Yeah, Gary, I've got my poll. 66?
Jaeger O'Meara will steal votes off him. He won't, but
no, he won't.
Yes, Damon, who's got the best chance of winning it?
Well,
give away all your betting secrets.
I'll sit on the fence and say that any of Ablett, Selwood, Pendles, or Swan can realistically win it, as well as Mitchell, just based upon the fact that he's finished second in the past 2 years and just polls out of his ass. Phrasing, yes.
Farts words.
Just exactly like Judd. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say probably Ablett or Selwood. Those are my top 2.
Yeah, and they've been the clear 2 favourites for the last 2 weeks, or no, sorry, not 2 weeks, 2 months. 2 weeks isn't very long, so 2 months will go. So who have you got winning, Ablett or Selwood?
I've got Ablett on 29 votes, winning by 2 ahead of Selwood on 27.
So it's still close.
It is, yeah, it's rather close, and I think it'll be close up until the final round. I think because
Ablett was best on ground in that last round.
Against GWS and Selwood. I think probably will be leading up until the last round, going into the last round, and Ablett should come over the top with the 3 votes.
Steals it.
Yeah, but if Selwood.
Yeah, great finish if it happened.
Yeah, if Selwood can poll in the last round, I can't quite recall. I think he was on the verge of maybe being in the top, 5 on the ground in the last round.
Who did Geelong play in the last round?
Brisbane.
Yeah,
Brisbane.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, and I think he played well. So, if he can steal 1 vote or even 2, it makes things very interesting. And of course, there's another 22 rounds where either of those players could do it. So. The Brownlow's a bit unpredictable, but if it's Ablett and Selwood out in front, I don't mind that.
Out of those names you mentioned before, do you have a smoky from out of the usual suspects, we'll call them? Is there a smoky that everyone I think would like chuck a sneaky 5 on just in case?
As a smoky, if I think Nat 5, if he was,
but he's
ineligible though, but I think he will probably come close in the top 5. But next season, as you said earlier, Whit, you should probably get on him for next season. But I mean, back him in, whatever.
Get on his bandwagon, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. But Yeah, I think Pendlebury is probably one to look out for. He's got good polling ability, I think, but the problem is with him is that Swan's always there stealing his votes. So, I mean, that sort of undid him last year.
Yeah, he only polled 15 or so last year, didn't he? He wasn't 20 plus like he normally is. So, it depends on how well Swan goes, I suppose.
Talk to me about Daniel Wells, because he had, after the Carlton game... No, and this is not because...
Brownlow medal contention, Daniel Wells.
I want to know for who's going to get the most votes out of a club, particularly North Melbourne. I'm interested in North Melbourne. He had a fantastic half of the season after the Carlton game. How many votes do you have him polling?
That's true. I have him on...
Yeah, guys.
I have him I have him winning, but tying with Brent Harvey. On 10.
And that's winning for North Melbourne, not winning.
Yes, not winning the Brownlow. Yes, not quite. He's only about 20 votes away.
Not quite that.
10 votes would win a Brownlow.
But yeah, I think with North they had an even contribution across the board, and Brent Harvey underpolled last year.
Yeah.
Quite dramatically, and I think a lot of people were saying that he was going to romp it in, but he didn't. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if Drew Petrie actually tops it for North.
Fair point.
Just as a bit of an outsider there, but. Yeah, probably Wells, I think, In his latter half of the season, he was kicking goals there, 4 goals a game and whatnot. I think he'll lead it.
Fair enough.
Will Majak Dor sneak some votes in?
Majak Dor? Who's that bloke? Never heard of him.
I mean, come now. He might, for that game against the Bulldogs, 6 goals, not without a chance.
Yeah.
Possible 3 votes?
Yeah, I think you probably get the 3 then. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll go around the panel and just give us your quick tip for the Brownlow, I suppose.
You first win?
Oh, no, you go first, Hezzy. I'll go last.
I think Mitchell will win it.
Gary Ablett.
I pick Mitchell every year, and every year people laugh at me. And this year,
I'm
I
laughing
actually
at you right now.
He's genuinely got a chance. So it'll make my birthday if you win, Mitchell. So win.
There you go.
Heard that,
right? Win. The votes are already in the
box.
Win
the Brownlow for me and me only.
They've already been counted, but it doesn't matter.
Yourself. No personal gain.
Yeah, as I said, I'd go with Ablett.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ablett as well.
A smoky around the panel?
I don't know. Dane Swan.
I was going to say Ryan Griffin, but the Dogs haven't done that well, so I might go Michael Barlow.
That's a good one.
Pendles.
Mitchell.
Mitchell's your smoky, not in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, well, I haven't got Mitchell on my count. I've got him equal. About 6, around about 6. So
okay. On how many votes?
Only on 22 votes. But I had him under polling last season, and he ended up over polling. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does it again.
Just curious, how many votes do you have the likes of Hodge and Roughhead and those sorts of players on?
Well, I've got Mitchell on 22, Ruffy on 18, and Hodge on 16, and then from there drops away.
So they're all stealing votes. That's the problem for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Problem with the good teams.
Yeah.
They all take votes off each other.
Yeah, but I think with Mitchell, one thing for him is that Hodge isn't really a renowned poller. I think it's a case of...
you had one good year, didn't you?
Yeah, one good year, but I think there was a year there, I don't think it was last year, the year before that, where a lot of people were actually they was suspecting that he may be in the running for the Brownlow and didn't come anywhere. I think it's a case with him that the umpires don't really like him.
That's not very nice.
No, but that's what comes into it. I mean, umpires are human after all.
Medalist and captain, he should
going by that, Selwood should have it in the bag then.
Yeah, you'd think so. Him or Ablett. I mean, the umpires love Ablett.
We do need to move on because there's this kind of big game of football on Saturday.
Yeah,
grand final.
Sort of big.
There's only a grand final.
It is the grand final, and then after this we've got 6 months of nothing but cricket to look forward to.
Free agency.
That'll be so fun.
Sorry, free agency and the draft and all that stuff, but no tangible football action. Hawthorn versus Fremantle. I mean, who do you tip? Because you've got Hawthorn's sort of freewheeling running style, and then Fremantle's sort of really just lock them down and pressure the living bejesus out of them.
I think over the past 2 years, the one team that's considerably bettered Freo consistently is Hawthorn. I think that's their problem. It's the one team that Ross Lyon really hasn't gotten the better of at any point. I think it was early in the year where Freo made the trip down to Tasmania and they lost by about 40 odd points, and because Hawthorn's game style holds up against them. I think, they're a very good pressure team, Hawthorn as well. They hold up well under pressure, but they're also very composed, and they're very good by foot. They can control the footy and they can control the tempo of the game. So as long as they can, resist it fairly well. Sorry about that. As long as they can resist it fairly well, then I think, I'd still tip Hawthorn at home.
This is the first time Hawthorn and Freo will play at the G since 2001.
That's a while.
Who won that game?
I think Hawthorn did.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, at the G.
Could have sworn they played there this year.
No, they played in Launceston.
No, that was down in Tasmania.
And
I'm going to check that right now. The 2011.
I could have sworn. If you know, text us in on 0427 767 767. When was the last time Hawthorn played Fremantle at the MCG? If it was 2001, we will not hurt Joe Hess.
Our producer's telling us it's twice since 2001, which is not very many.
Who's the most important player for either side?
Hawthorn is Jared Ruffhead, Freo is Matthew Pavlich.
So we're going to go with two big key forwards instead.
I'm going to go with two big key forwards. I don't read everybody else's minds, but
yeah,
I'll go with that.
Fair enough. I think Nat Fyfe is going to have one hell of a game. I think he's built to play in finals, and Hawthorn are going to have a hard time stopping him. For the Hawks, it's got to be Ruffy for me. I'll agree with you on that one. He's the best footballer on their list, and Freo will find it hard to stop him.
Who wins the battle between Mitchell and Crowley? Do you reckon Mitchell can still play well despite the red hot form that Crowley's in?
I think with Mitchell, he was named in the All-Australian in the half-back flank, and he has played there throughout the year, drifting back there and drifting back.
He's played there a lot.
So I think with that, he might be able to be pushed back. If Crowley is getting the better of him, they can just throw him back, and Crowley will be forced to go back there with him, make him accountable.
On the flip side, Brian Crowley can kick goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think if Mitchell drifts back and Crowley pushes forward and then becomes a roving option. He's kicked 5 goals in a game before. I don't know how many goals he's kicked this year, but every now and then he bobs up with 2 or 3. So he is not so much a proven goal kicker, but he can kick goals. So if Mitchell does drift back, then Crowley does become a threat.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
How do you think Buddy will go? I reckon he's going to have a big game just because it's probably going to be his last game in a Hawthorn jumper.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know who goes to him. Probably Michael Johnson if he's, he should be fit. So, Johnson on Franklin is going to be a fantastic matchup. But I think I'd put Johnson ahead in that one personally because I think he's got the versatility to, keep running with him and, he's probably better overhead as well. So, I think, how many did Franklin kick in the grand final last year? He kicked 3?
3.
And that was probably top 5 for best on ground. So, he's done okay in grand finals before. So, if he kicks 2 or 3 goals, he's done his job.
So, we haven't got much time left for today's show. I think we'll go around the paddle and just get a quick tip. And a Norm Smith from all of you?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea to finish off. Yes?
Freo to win by 3 points. Ooh. And Nathan Fyfe to be the Norm Smith.
I'm going to go Hawthorn by 15 points, and Norm Smith will be Brad Sewell.
Freo by 5, and I'm going to go Fyfe as well.
I'm going to go Hawthorn by 10, and Luke Hodge for the Norm Smith.
I'm going to go with Freo by about 5 goals, and Nat Fyfe for the Norm Smith.
So big love for Nat Fyfe.
I love Nat Fyfe.
Yeah, I think we all love Nat Fyfe.
Probably the closest thing we've had to James Hird since James Hird, minus all the...
As a footballer.
Just quickly before we go, there's news coming out of Eastern Rangers in the TAC Cup Grand Final. Tom Boyd has kicked 3 goals in the first quarter. Dominating.
And of course, all the Banff Glory guys are covering that for the Rising Stars. So
we'll have that up on Banff Glory News,
and it's all up on Twitter as well.
And also make sure you check out the VFL Grand Final today. Box Hill Hawks and Geelong. If I'm
plenty
correct.
of football.
Yes.
It's all going well.
Yeah, fantastic so Banff Glory News on Twitter and on Facebook. Give us a like and a follow to keep up to date with the TAC Cup as well. And we'll have free agency and all the trade
pumping
news
stuff out for the draft.
We got everything covered on Banff Glory News. So Banff Glory News, bfgnews.net. I think it's changed to for the time being. So make sure you check that out. It's been another great show on Banff Glory FM. We'll be back next week, same time.
Later.
I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?